Hello, and thank you for watching this regional forecast for the southern U.S. I'm Andrew Pritchard, Senior Meteorologist with Nutrien Ag Solutions. We'll check out the satellite and lightning picture here as the sun comes up on this Friday morning. We've got a frontal boundary trying to make its way into the south here. It's kind of cutting across the Ohio River Valley. It's triggered a few scattered showers and storms, bringing some cool and dry air into parts of the Corn Belt here. And again, it's trying to make it down into the south. It will not make it into the south. We're going to continue to be warm and muggy here across the southeast, and seeing that warmth and mugginess expanding back across western portions of the southern U.S. here. Talking about parts of Texas and Oklahoma that have been at least cool and muggy with the rain and the cloud cover in the area over the last week or so, going all the way back to Laura, making its way through the area. Here's that frontal boundary again, just trying to sag into the area. Those that broken line of showers and storms from parts of southern Missouri into the mid-south there. Some more widespread showers and storms meandering in a stagnant air mass there across the eastern half of Texas as well on this Friday morning. The hazards map from the National Weather Service is pretty quiet across the southeast here this morning. We do have some heat advisories in place across western portions of Louisiana and then also across the peninsula of Florida as well. Some heat advisories in effect. The last 72 hours of precipitation have been focused along this boundary again, with moisture being pulled up and precipitated across portions of North Texas, getting into southeast Oklahoma, and then through that corridor across the northern half of Arkansas into the Ohio River Valley, parts of the Mid-South, seeing some of that rain as well. Now, as we look at the last 30 days, percent of normal, and then the next 7 days, we can pick out some overlaps here and some areas where we will get to dry out where we kind of need to do so. Now, across the Corn Belt, where we need the rain, some areas will get to see that, but we are looking at dry conditions continuing across some of these dry portions of the area. And then as we focus down across the south, you're looking at the blue shading, this corridor that's seen some real excessive rainfall over the last 30 days, a lot of that over the last 7 to 10 days. Now, luckily, we're not going to be continuing to dump so much on that region, but kind of western portions of that, North Texas, parts of southeast Oklahoma, still could stand to see quite a bit of rainfall here over the next 7 days, with some showers and storms kind of persistent along that boundary as we head into the next week. That also includes portions of western Arkansas as well that saw a lot of heavy rain from Laura and are now seeing heavy rain here from this stagnant frontal boundary across the region. I'll go ahead and jump back, though. Where we should be dry across the south is across eastern portions of Louisiana, getting into the states of Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. A ridge of high pressure, they're going to be keeping things a little bit on the drier side here as we head into the next week. Severe weather, not a big concern across the south. We've got a marginal risk across parts of the upper Midwest here today, on Saturday and Sunday, with a slight risk there across parts of Minnesota and Iowa on Saturday. But just a general thunderstorm risk across the south. And we'll look at the upper level pattern as we start off today. Broad ridge in the west, broad trough here across the Great Lakes, extending to an area of an upper level low here across the Hudson Bay. And then we've got this little weaker ridge across the southeast that's going to be has been pumping moisture into this region, but then we'll be keeping the central portion of the south here a bit on the dry side as we head through the next 7 days. So as we get going, I'm going to hit play on this through the weekend into early next week. We'll watch a pretty deep trough swing in right here as we get into Monday and Tuesday, and then cut itself off across the western U.S. rather than being progressive and sweeping from west to east. Now what that's going to do is it keeps that front from swinging through the south. So we're going to keep the hot and muggy air mass in place. I'll hit play on here. You'll see the front. It's obvious. You can't miss it when it comes diving in out of Canada right here on Monday and then Tuesday, but then watch stalls right there. The upper level low cuts off across the west. I'll go ahead and we'll pause and take control here. Look at this. 90s muggy air here, just stagnant across the southern U.S. as we head into the weekend and early next week. Here's the front now as we get it to Monday, or let's get it to Tuesday afternoon. This is a crazy image here. Look at this almost 2,000 mile long, nearly straight frontal boundary extended from the Texas Panhandle all the way into eastern portions of Canada. So now we're taking it into Tuesday morning, into Wednesday morning, now Wednesday afternoon. And again, now you're starting to see this air mass pivot. You're starting to see the ridge building in the east. That's allowing the heat to expand off to the north rather than seeing the cold air crash across the south. So again, the cold front will not make it into our area. We're going to stay warm and muggy as we go into the middle and late part of next week. Perhaps we get some changes here as we get into the weekend. Maybe we see another front sweep through on the backside, but right now, the next 7 days, hot and muggy, and that front is not going to make it into the south. So with precipitation, let's go ahead and take it into the weekend here. We're going to continue to see that rain threat across the state of Texas and parts of Oklahoma as we head into Saturday. We'll then see it dry out as we head into the back half of the weekend. Sunday, the coverage should be much lower. Still some scattered storms possible across East Texas. Look for thunderstorm activity across Florida, maybe at times across southern Georgia as well. Otherwise dry across the south on Sunday. Dry as we head into Monday. That ridge moves across the southeast. We'll be waiting on the frontal boundary off to the north now. This is Tuesday, still dry. If you head off to kind of far southeastern portions of the U.S. here, we're talking about Florida again and the coastal portions of Georgia and South Carolina. See some scattered thunderstorm activity during the day on Tuesday. The front starts to sag into the region here as we get into Tuesday evening now. We'll be pumping Gulf moisture northward, kind of up and over the top of this boundary, which again, just kind of oriented right here. You can see the isobars stacked together there. This is going to be a very tight thermodynamic or a thermal boundary. Again, what I mean by that is real deep, muggy air down here, 90s, real humid, and then if you head just off to the north here, we're talking about air that's going to be in the 30s and 40s here across parts of the Midwest at times. So we'll see showers and storms persistent along that boundary as it stalls out here. So cool and rainy across the panhandle of Texas into western Oklahoma. Now, this will not be a pleasant air mass at all here as we get into September 9th and 10th. Seeing this front now starting to wash out. We're seeing the upper level energy tracking off to the northeast as the jet stream retreats back to the northeast. Now we've got the upper level low kind of cut off across the southwest, and so we'll keep the rain threat in place here across Texas and Oklahoma into the deeper part of the week. But otherwise, that frontal boundary lifting back off to the north, washing out across the southern U.S. Now, as the ridge begins to break down, that little subtle ridge across the southeast will resume scattered shower and storm activity across parts of Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina as we get into the last half of the week as well. So here's a look at the low-level response here, the lower-level winds at 850 millibars. Well, again, here's the ridge that's keeping us dry across the southeast. You can see it kind of spinning away right here. Meanwhile, all kinds of strong winds wrapping into this area of low pressure as it makes its way across the Great Lakes into eastern Canada here as we get into Monday and Tuesday. And then as we just go ahead and take this into your Monday night, getting into Tuesday now, again, you can see the convergence where we've got the strong flow out of the south, and then on the backside of the frontal boundary, right there, we've got the winds coming out of the northeast. It's along that boundary that we'll see the cool air pooling, we'll see the moisture pooling and going up into the top of that boundary, and that's where we'll see the most widespread rain and thunderstorm threat. So now we're looking at the European on the left, the GFS on the right, total precipitation between now and next Wednesday. And we see some differences here. On the European model, you see the corridor of the heaviest precipitation here extending again from Texas through Oklahoma, getting into western Missouri, and then parts of Iowa, northern Illinois, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. And then you see this dry area here with that ridge of high pressure kind of keeping, eastern Louisiana, eastern Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia on the drier side as we head through the weekend into early next week. The GFS is a little bit more generous with precipitation across this region, but I'm not so sure that I'm buying it right now. I think that some pop-up showers and storms are possible in that area with the warm and muggy air mass in place. But with that little ridge kind of pivoting into that area, I think we're really going to focus the precipitation right along that frontal boundary, again across Texas, Oklahoma, getting into the upper Midwest. So as we look at the probabilities here, we'll look at the ensemble. So this is taking all of the individual ensemble runs here, and then looking at the probability of picking up 1 inch or more of precipitation over that same period. So between now and next Wednesday evening. And again, the highest probability going to be across the states of Texas and Oklahoma, where we're seeing the rainfall now, and where we'll see the rainfall here kind of persistent along that stalled out boundary as we get into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week, where we'll be on the drier side again, where that ridge of high pressure is across Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and then at least the northern 2/3 of Georgia, getting into the western part of the Carolinas. Now as this front makes its way in, again, southerly flow out ahead of that. That's going to keep us warm and muggy. We'll see the core of the coldest air dipping down here across the high plains as we get into Monday and Tuesday. I took a snapshot here from Denver. This is outside of the south here, but just look at the extremes forecast here. 99 for the high on Sunday. Monday, 90 degrees, dropping down to a high of 43 on Tuesday with a chance for some snow in the area. No thank you to that. I will just let them deal with that one. Talking about frost potential across parts of the Corn Belt, here's the coolest air here making its way in Tuesday and Wednesday. And again, you look at parts of the panhandles here, Oklahoma and Texas, overnight lows in the lower 40s as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll finish with a look at your high temperatures then. Again, keeping 90s in place for much of the south, and we'll continue to warm up where we're a little bit cooler right now with the rain and cloud cover across this region as we head deeper into the weekend. Here's the highs on Saturday, Sunday, and now Monday. You see 90s widespread across the south. Here comes the cold front dropping into the region as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday.